Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. This is the no cap zone, where we have a strict dress code. Knock it off with that capping ass nonsense, fam. Miss me with that. The only cap that's allowed around these parts, your thinking cap. That's it. Otherwise, miss me all that. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, all that. Even though I know the people that are here are people who've already done it, so thank y'all. But yeah, blah 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 blah. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Theism is evil, yo. I know y'all get it. You two in particular get it. But yeah, theism is evil. See, there was a time when humanity didn't understand shit about fuck. There was a time where we didn't know nothing about nothing. So people had to try to figure out what the hell is going on. People came up with these ideologies. They came up with these frameworks that gave them some kind of idea about reality, that helped them to explain reality, that gave them some comfort dealing with our inevitable demise, our mortality. We all know that one day we're going to die, and then who knows what the fuck happens after that. So it gives people comfort to know that there's some kind of hit the fucking like button. It gives us some kind of comfort to know that there's some kind of life after life because we're still alive in some way, shape, or form. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know. We don't know nothing. And see, this would be okay if we weren't in the modern advancing age. But now we're in an advancing age where science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics are completely transforming our very ideas about the nature of reality. We're discovering so much about this reality. We're discovering so much about material science. We're discovering so much about everything. And now our knowledge base is beginning to explode because there's so many innovations, so many discoveries happening at such a rapidly advancing pace. Society can't keep up. Society can't keep up. But see, part of the issue isn't so much that society can't keep up, so much as it is society doesn't want to keep up. Because there are too many institutions that are currently benefiting from the status quo. As an example, the media organizations. See, we live in a society of hyper capitalism. Everything is all about money, the profit motive. You have to be able to make money and make more and more money and make even more money and even more money and even more money in order to guarantee your survival in this hyper capitalist society. And as a result, media companies are the same. They are companies that have to make money. So instead of giving people the knowledge and information that they need, the news that they need, they give people the news that they want to see. The news that are going to be most likely to give them the most views. Because at the end of the day, news companies don't care about the quality of the news, the quality of the media that they are presenting, that they are giving to people. All they care about are the profits. Because without profits, they can't live. They can't make it. That's why you see all these news organizations, particularly the newspapers, the online newspapers, the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Business Insight, all these organizations that are switching over to a subscription model. Now you got to sign up. Now you got to give them your email. Now you got to get a membership so that you can read articles. And there's no telling that the quality of the article that you will read will be substantive to the point of helping humanity solve the various problems that we face. Because everything's behind a paywall. And in a society where wealth inequality is constantly on the rise, people can't literally afford to pay for these paywalls. So even if we assume that all these organizations were doing high quality reporting, high quality news representation, people can't know because they're kept behind a paywall. And because people aren't just rolling in the dough all day, people aren't going to be signing up for New York Times and Business Insider all day. Even here, the Sun-Times, the Chicago Sun-Times. Who's just rushing to buy the Sun-Times? You know what? I'd rather just watch reality TV. I'd rather just watch sports and call it a day. Even now, with all the legislation that's being passed, that's been passed, people aren't just crowding around fucking C-SPAN trying to stay abreast of all the legislation that's being passed. People aren't just paying attention to everything going on in Congress, going on in the Supreme Court. If you ask most people what are the fucking greatest fucking pieces of legislation that were passed in the last 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, most people will only be able to acknowledge like the most biggest headlines. Oh, things like Obamacare or gay marriage and stuff like that. It's all good, fam. Hit the like button. Hit the like. Just hit that like button quick, real quick. Hit the like button real quick, please. And then come back. Don't come back till you do. Hit that like button. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else who's here, hit that like button. But yeah, media organizations are at the core of this problem. Media, legacy media, social media. Just now, we just came from TikTok. We could be doing this on TikTok, but we know that we can't, as I was just saying, because they won't let us talk. They won't let us talk. We could have been grew by now. But there's so much censorship these days that you can't even talk about things without having to worry about all the bullshit, without having to worry about getting shut down, getting censored, getting silenced, being suppressed, being shadow banned, or just straight up banned. I've done all these fucking lives on YouTube. And even though the numbers haven't been the most amazing, the most important thing is that we haven't been shut down. I can't tell you how frustrating it is getting shut down on a constant basis, getting suspended for 7 days at a time and not knowing the reason why. Not being given an explanation, not being shown, okay, at this point in time, you said this was dangerous, this violated our guidelines, whatever the case may be. This is what is making media itself so dangerous. Because media, thank you, appreciate it. This is what has made media so dangerous nowadays. Media has the ability to shape people's views, thought patterns, and behaviors. And when you have a media that is heavily biased, that is heavily corrupted or heavily influenced by specific beliefs and specific fucking moneyed interests, that makes it difficult for people to gain the knowledge necessary to be as in tune with reality as possible, which makes it difficult for us as a populace to come to terms with reality as it is and to have a real adult civil discussions about the best path forward, such that even us here in the no cap zone, we can barely talk about anything because they keep doing everything they can to prevent us from being able to talk and to get our say in, to get a word in edgewise. They want to do everything possible to prevent us from stopping them, because this is where we're at right now. We have all these institutions, all these individuals that have benefited so greatly from the status quo. They have benefited so greatly from being able to make money, preying on people's fears, preying on people's ignorance for all this time. But now the education is starting to improve such that information is available at your fingertips. I've probably learned more in the past 15 years just living life and struggling in this crazy ass world than I did in all 4.5 years of college. Because now we have the internet, and now more and more discoveries, more and more information is available. You and I could be having a debate about who won the NBA championship in 1984, and we can just look it up, and then we can find the answer. And we can do that with more and more topics nowadays, to the point where at this point, it doesn't make sense for any theistic ideology to continually exist for any reason. Because the fact of the matter is, with all the discoveries we're making, all the innovations we're making, theism as a whole has not contributed to any of that. Somebody asked on the TikTok, what about somebody who's a deist, or what about somebody who keeps their... We're not talking about any of that nonsense, okay? First of all, the question is whether or not these beliefs are true. It starts there. That's why I always ask, what is reality? What is reality? What is the goal of humanity? What is the purpose of humanity? What does it mean to be real? What does it mean to be alive? How did we come to be? How did life on Earth come to be? How did humanity come to be? How did our brains evolve? And why do we think the things that we think? So it is now clear cut that we're beginning to understand these things. We haven't fully answered all these questions. We know that there's something to do with abiogenesis and maybe some panspermia in there. Method, the scientific method has greatly influenced our ability, in fact, has directly impacted our ability to continually improve upon our ability to understand reality as it is and not just for what we hope it to be, which is why the more that we become in tune with science, the more that we root our understanding in the scientific method, the more advanced we become, the more people that we see that are contributing to the knowledge base of humanity. And what we also see is that theism does not do any of that. When was the last time we saw theism, some theological institution, actually innovate something? No, there's not a definite answer to what reality is, which is the reason why cosmology exists. That's literally the point of cosmology, to understand the cosmos. That's why they call it the cosmos, cosmology, because we don't understand, we don't know for certain whether or not the universe is all there is or if there's more to it. We don't. There's so much that we don't know. That's why you have all these different ideas about, you know, string theory, multiverse hypothesis, many worlds hypothesis, E8 lattice, quantum field, all these different ideas of what reality could be. And we're still trying to figure out what these things are. That's why cosmology exists. That's why the sciences exist. So we can get to the bottom of answering that very question, understanding what reality is. See, religious institutions, religious theologies gave people some kind of base level understanding, seemingly that answered everything, seemingly to give people a framework of understanding everything. But what we know now is that the more we learn about science, the less and less and less that these religious ideologies actually appear to comport with the reality that we inhabit. That's why when I see theists far and wide who pretend like they have some connection with this supposedly omniscient being or whatever they claim this thing to be, they can never seem to answer simple, basic questions concerning the fact that they supposedly connect with this thing. Because if this thing is so intelligent, has all the knowledge in the world, why is it that it does not impart any of this knowledge to these people? Why does it not give them useful information that can help them prove their point, to convince us that what they are saying is true? As an example, these people that claim to talk to God, why does this God thing, whatever they claim, it, he, she, whatever pronoun it goes by, they go by, whatever it is, why doesn't it give them the cures for cancer? Why doesn't it give them schematics to building a fusion reactor that is perfectly fucking improving the net gain of energy so that we can end fossil fuel use altogether? For some reason, this supposedly intelligent thing always gives people useless information, destructive information, things that actually help to worsen societies. And we see this all the time. Right now, today, one of the biggest issues facing humanity is climate change. And I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it. We talked the other day, the day of the debate, that one of the least important topics, or one of the least desired topics of people, is climate change. People hate talking about it because it's a purely science issue. And when you have a nation of people that are anti-science, well, then it explains why they don't want to talk about it. Because now we got to start talking about science. And these people are anti-science. So they don't want to talk about science. They want to talk about the Lord Jesus Christ. They want to talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They want to talk about, well, I mean, if it's supposed to happen, it's God's will. And my whole thing is, if we were to assume that there is this thing called a God, why would it want us to be content with this as my will? That's why I liken theism to simulation hypothesis. Because if there was a simulator, the grand simulator in the sky, why would it want its creation not to solve any of these problems, figure out any of these problems, especially when we have the capability of doing that? Why would we sit on our hands and say, well, the Lord said it, so therefore that's what it is? Why would the Lord want us to do that? If it existed, if it was real, if it designed the reality of reality, if it designed reality and it understands reality, why would it want us to not understand reality? Why would it not want us to figure these things out when we can figure these things out, when we have the ability, when we have the capability? Exactly. Why wouldn't this creator set up the creation for success? If it actually existed and it interacted with this creation as they claim, why would it not give them the actual knowledge that they need to solve these problems? Why would it tell people to shut up, don't think, and just keep worshiping blindly? How exactly does that help us at all? In any tangible, meaningful way? How exactly does theism help us as a society to fix any of the problems that we have been facing for eons? This is why it becomes so difficult for us as a human race to make progress, because too many people are among us that don't want to think about these things because it's too hard. Whether it's because they lack the capacity mentally to understand, whether it's because they're so caught up in their traumas and their substance abuse problems that they don't want to focus on actually addressing and solving these problems because it makes them feel good, because their drug of choice helps to take them away from their problems, or worse, because they are actively wanting to cause the problem because they're evil and they know that by obscuring the truth that they can continue to purport this bullshit, and that those at the top can continue making all the money that they make, gaining all the influence that they gain, and so that they can stay in power. Because the fact of the matter is this. There are individuals and institutions that are enriching themselves right now, spreading this misinformation, and personally I think it's disinformation. And let me state the difference. Misinformation is just pretty much false information, wrong information. But most people spread false information unknowingly. They think it's true. They just don't know that it's false. But then there's disinformation, which is the idea of intentionally spreading misinformation, intentionally spreading falsehoods for the express purpose of causing confusion, misinforming people, ensuring that they stay misinformed, uninformed, improperly informed, wrongly informed, uninformed, for whatever their particular respective alternative ulterior motive is. As an example, religious institutions, they need money to survive because we live in this hyper-capitalist society. So they need people to subscribe to their ideologies so that these institutions can continue to exist. So in order for this to happen, they need people to be uninformed and misinformed, because if people gain the necessary information, more than likely people will not continue to subscribe to these ideologies and to support these institutions. If the Lord was real, as I always ask, why would it need a marketing team when it has all this power, when it has all this ability to be everywhere because it's omnipresent or all that shit? The fact is, the Lord doesn't need marketing teams. Religious institutions and organizations need marketing teams because they can't continue to sell their ideas just on a whim anymore. See, there was a time when humanity was largely ignorant, as I stated earlier. But now we are in a precious time of information explosion. More and more people have gained access to information to such a point that we have a more level playing field. Right? A person born in a rural area has just as much ability to have as much knowledge as somebody in a highly condensed metropolitan area such as here in Chicago. The only difference at this point is just the access. As long as they have the same internet access, they have the same ability to learn as any of us do. So now we're in a time where there's really no excuse for ignorance anymore. There's no excuse for ignorance anymore, because now that we have multimedia, now that we have mass communication, there is no good reason as to why we as people can't be intelligent, highly informed, well-informed people, a well-informed populace, where we actually put all these ideas to the test so that we can determine which of these ideas are the best ideas, which of these ideas are the worst ideas, which ideas we need to stick with, and which ideas we need to do away with. And now we are in this special time where we are beginning to realize which ideas are good and which ideas are not, and why. The why, and that's the key part of it. The why. Why is this idea good versus that idea? Or why is this idea superior to that idea? Why should we rock with this idea and discard that idea? See, the fact of the matter is that we have the scientific method now. We have logic now. We understand logical fallacies now. So we have the ability to understand how to critically think now. People can say, oh, well, did you see the trees? And, oh, it makes me feel good. And that makes me... Fuck all of that shit. Is it true? Is this belief true? And if it is true, how can we actually effectively and efficiently use this belief system to help create a better, well-functioning society for ourselves? What is the method? What is the way? And that's why we have to do what we are doing at this present time. That's why we have to figure out what it is that we are aiming to accomplish now. Because if we want to improve society, we have to get real with reality. And theism fails to do that. As a matter of fact, theism is the antithesis of that. If theism helped us, theists could show us how it is helpful. Theists could show us how their theologies, how their belief systems are influencing various fields: medicine, economics, engineering, materials science, all this shit. Because if people really had this divine connection, then it would give them the ability to gain insights into reality nobody else would be able to, which would improve their ability to construct, which would improve their ability to innovate. It would improve their ability to improve upon innovations that have already occurred, because they would have this divine connection. But what we see is the opposite. We see a whole bunch of contrarians and naysayers and a whole bunch of not just skeptics, but cynics. See, a healthy dose of skepticism never hurt anybody. In fact, questioning everything is exactly how we improve as a nation, to ensure that what we think is actually the right course of action. Some could call it second guessing. Others would call it checking your work. And look, it's not perfect, all right? When I was on the math team, I could tell you on many occasions, there were times where I would be at a math contest, right? And for those of you who aren't sure or have never been through it, here's how math contests work, right? First, before the contest, in the weeks leading up, we're doing practice exams, practice tests, to understand these various, to demonstrate that we have an understanding of these different aspects of math. Whatever it is, if we're doing algebra, geometry, whatever, we're going to be taking these practice tests to ensure that we know what we're doing. On the day of the test, like any test, you get a list of questions. You got to answer them correctly, which demonstrates your ability to understand the concepts. There have been plenty of times, damn near every time, where I actually had the correct answer at first, and then I went to go double check, and then I thought I spotted an error in my reasoning, made the correction, and then realized, oh shit, I had it right the first time. And I got the answer wrong because I double checked it and actually made an error by making a correction. That's going to happen. Because progress is not linear. Progress is not just something that just is a straight line and we just continue to improve. Because there are always going to be unintended consequences from innovating. There's always going to be some kind of a drawback. There's always going to be some malevolent individual that's going to take some innovation and use it for nefarious purposes. That's always been the case throughout history. We've seen all these different situations where science was used for horrible things, right? Such as the Tuskegee experiments, where they sterilized people for pretty much the sake of it, to see if they could. Then there's, of course, the Nazi experiments and all the human fucking crimes, the crimes against humanity that were performed during that. And then, of course, many other situations that have occurred through history. Science is not perfect. That's why, as people, we need to be constantly engaged in discussions concerning ethics and morality. But by having a mentality that is in tune with reality as it is, we can have more constructive conversations about the best courses of action moving henceforth. But by saying, well, it says in Genesis chapter 17, it says in the Quran chapter 7 verse 12, some fucking bullshit, how exactly does that help us? When they can't demonstrate that any of that is even true to begin with. Are y'all still here or what? Because I ain't been seeing no comments. It shows me there's only 2 people here. I don't see nobody saying nothing. Is it doing that shit again? Because I don't know. Where y'all at? Where'd y'all go? I don't see no comments. So it must be that bullshit again. It must be. I'm not seeing nothing and nobody. Damn. I don't see nobody. Not a single comment. So, I don't know. Because I'm not seeing not a single comment. I don't know what's going on, y'all. But we press onward. The reason why I say theism is evil is because if we decide that our collective aim as a human population is to solve the various issues of society, to improve upon humanity, to improve our knowledge base, to move up along the Kardashev scale, how does theism help us to accomplish that goal? In any capacity, in any way. There are some that will say, well, theism can influence people, some people, to say, hey, I want to do well at this. I want to understand this. I want to understand that. But is that what we see nationwide from our population? The answer is no. And I can give an example. So, there's this one channel I like to watch called Melody Sheep. Y'all should check it out. Beautiful animation, beautiful fucking production, the music, everything is top-notch, Hollywood level shit. One guy is doing all the shit. Does great work. He has a video where he imagines what aliens may look like based on our current understanding of physics and astrophysics, astrobiology, all that shit. So, on Christmas of last year, me and my family were watching the NBA Christmas games. Well, during one game, I do believe it was the Philly game, I forget, I think Embiid wasn't playing. The Sixers were getting their asses kicked. The game was pretty much over. So I'm like, okay, well, let me kind of hijack this time so that I could put on this video about the alien shit. Now, my sister is a theist, but she's also into space stuff. And we were at her crib for Christmas, so I put on this video. My mom and my brother are theists through and through. So when I put on this video, they immediately checked out. And I'm looking at their faces like they're not even paying attention. They don't care to know anything about aliens and space or any of that because they want to believe their Christian fucking bullshit. My sister was the only one that was actively engaged in watching the video. It's the same video we watched the other day, so that video. That same video. So, you know, there's different things you can say about, you know, what I did and that, you know, it's not like they wanted to see the video. But see, here's the thing, right? We live in a society where it's totally okay if you want to fucking talk about, I love this Bible quote. I love Jesus. I love Allah. Allah's the greatest. Jesus, the Father, the truth, and the light, and the Holy Spirit, and all that shit. But when it comes to talking about science shit, that's some taboo shit. It's like the worst thing in the world to put on a science video. How dare you put on a video about science to a bunch of people who hate science? Yeah, I can't see comments at all. So, I might just go ahead and restart the stream because I cannot see nobody's comments at all. So, come on back, I guess. This is pissing me off.